looks like maybe Eileen's on.
Yep, I'm on.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right.
So we're good to go?
Yeah, I think so.
Awesome. All right, let me just share my screen here. You should be able to see GP.
Yep.
Anybody not be? Okay, cool. So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ed Lubriel from AK Enterprise Solutions. So we're going to spend the next 20-30 minutes going over the basics of collection management module that's offered with GP. It is a third party. Microsoft used to own it. They gave it back to Professional Advantage, so it is a separate installation, but basically it works seamlessly within GP. You would never know as a third party. It's all intertwined within GP. The screens are all, everything is within GP. So one of the nice things, it's a pretty straightforward module. Once you install it, there's some initial setup that you might need to do, but you get up and running pretty quickly. There are a number of features in collections, and I'll show you some of those main features. And so by the end of this demo, you'll have a good feel of what you can do with collections. And obviously, if you have any questions at the end, please feel free to bring those up. If I can't answer them at this point, I'll definitely follow up and answer them at a later point. So at any point you have any questions, feel free to stop me. If I'm going too fast, let me know. But let's go ahead and get started. So again, once it gets installed, there's some setup that you can do in the collections module, and I'll show you some of those things here. Basically what happens from a collection standpoint is that you assign what GP users are going to be collectors. So for example, how many people would you foresee needing to be collectors from a GP standpoint?
Maybe just a handful to get started.
Okay, so on this screen here is where you actually set up all the collectors. So in this case, I have 4. So let's say I'm logged in as the user, and that typically is a one-to-one relationship between the GP user and the collector. But the collector can actually be somebody else. Doesn't have to match what the user ID is in GP. Some of these settings here are specifically to this collector. So, and here I can put the position, the email address. Down here, there's some options in terms of what can happen. For example, I can have the collection main open up automatically when GP opens up. There's also another screen called the collection task if I want that one to open up as well on the startup. So there's a couple of those things that you can do on a user by user basis. Then you also have security, a little bit of a security. Security can be handled in a couple of ways when it comes to collection management. You can restrict users to specific collection screens just based on natural GP security. You can do that not within the collection, but as part of your security role. But there's a couple of settings within the collection module itself in terms of what collectors can do. So if I go over here to collector security, I select my collector. This is on a collector by collector basis. A couple of options here. One of the things that you can do in collections is you can enter notes for each customer. So in here, there's an option to say, okay, for this specific collector, do you want to allow them to edit or delete other notes from other collectors? And do you also want to let them edit or delete their own notes? Okay, so let's say I don't want them, they can delete or edit their own notes, but I don't want them to delete or edit other users' notes. So you can do something like that. Okay, but you can actually say, look, I don't want them to do either one. Once the note is in there, I don't want anyone to change it or delete it. So you can actually do that. You can also turn that on after the fact, and then if you decide that you want to have them do that afterwards, you can do that. Okay. Down here at the bottom, you can also restrict for this particular collector what notes, whose notes they should see. So, for example, excuse me, if there's a range or I don't know if you guys are using customer classes, or if there's a specific customer range that you only want this users to see the collection notes for, you can do that as well. Okay. So And then a couple of other things from a collection standpoint. There's collection levels. There's also signatures, in terms of faxing and that kind of stuff. That's some of the defaults in terms of printing and all that stuff. Let me show you in terms of information that you can store on a customer level. So once you install collections management, standard GP has the customer maintenance screen, right? So this is the standard screen in GP where you can set up a customer. You can put their information regarding the address, the phone, that you probably use the find fields. So this is all information that standard GP would store. Once you install collections, there's another screen, excuse me, that's specific to collection information, and that's a little bit down here. So here where I bring up any customer, and for this particular customer I can indicate who is a credit manager. If you want to track that, the benefit of tracking credit managers is that you can run reports based on that. If you want to track the collection address ID, if you guys are going to be sending out letters or printing letters to the customer, you can indicate what address the letter should go to, and this is what this address ID would be for. If you want to indicate what the preferred contact method is, what time zone the customer is in, there's some control cycles in regards to for the collection letters, and then there's something called collection plan ID and current plan step action. We'll talk about this later on, but there's collection management has this thing called collection plans, and you can implement those collection plans, and the plan can go across multiple customers depending on the different steps that you set up in the plan. Like I said, we'll talk about that a little bit more later on. And then down here, there's a bunch of user-defined fields, and these can be for whatever you want. You can define these. There's actually a setup to define all these user-defined fields. If you want to track, for example, if they've been in bankruptcy, you can change this checkbox to say bankruptcy, and then you would check it if they've been in bankruptcy. So these are all user-defined fields that you can use for whatever you want. Okay. So that's really a real quick review of what's really involved. That's basically it from a kind of like from a setup standpoint. The main screen that you would be using in collections management there are a couple of main screens. The real main one is collection main. Okay, so this is where a lot of you do a lot of your collections activities in. So this screen, I'll bring up a customer here. Tells me a lot of things for that particular customer. Obviously I see the name, the address ID, the address. I see some information in last payment, so I can see the last time we received the payment from the customer. I can see the payment terms, year-to-date sales. If there's any unposted activity, such as invoices, cash, any orders, I don't know if you guys are using sales order processing. On the right side, it breaks out the aging for me, so I can see the aging really quickly right there. And then on the bottom, I get a total due amount. I get the credit limit. If I'm using salespeople, it shows me who the salesperson is. And I see, again, the collection plan thing, which we have talked about later on, and the total outstanding. If I click on total due here, what that's going to do is that's actually going to give me the detail as to what's for each of the documents that are open. So I can see from here, each document. And then from here, I can even drill down back to the individual documents. So I can click in here, and it actually takes to the documents. Now, I happen to be using sales order processing, so that's what this screen is, and this is a particular invoice. Down here at the bottom, you'll see the collection notes that have been entered for this particular customer. So as you can see, there's one. I can open up the second line. Gives me a little bit more information as to who entered the note, who is assigned to, if there's any action dates, and any action amounts. Now, in collection, they have this thing called actions. Okay, and you don't have to set these up. This is optional. I'm going to close the collection main for a second here. But under the card, there's something called collection actions. So collection actions can be used for whenever you enter a collection note on the customer, you can assign an action. Again, it's up to you whether you want to do that or not. It's not required. But for example, let's say that you want to set up an action of call. Okay, and there's different action types. It could be none, it could be dispute, it could be promise to pay, or it could be special. And what's significant about these is that you can actually run queries based on these action types. So, for example, let's say that you assign a collection note, and you assign it to promise to pay, and then there's like 10 other notes across different customers that are promise to pay. You can actually run a query to say, okay, I want to see all the customers that have been assigned a promise to pay action. So going back to the collection main, just to show you some other things you can do in the collection main. So in here, I'm bring up that customer back up. Okay, like I said, I can enter a new note. So this is the note that's down here. I'm going to click on new note. Again, this is one of the biggest things that you'd be doing with collections management. And if you notice in the note, there's a number of different fields here. So we got the contact date, that defaults to today's date. I mean, it's 4/12/2017 because I'm in the demo company. The time, so this is all recording the date and the time of the note. It defaults to my user ID in terms of the caller ID, but I can change that. The address ID, again, if you just want to make a reference to a specific address, the contact will automatically come over from the customer. In terms of priority, this is a low, normal, high note. And this is where you would assign an action if you wanted to excuse me, assign an action to this particular note. You can also assign an action date. Who it's assigned to would default to yourself, but you can always change that to any other of the collectors. Okay. And then if I wanted to, on this particular note, I can also reference any specific documents. So let's say I spoke to the customer about two specific invoices. I can click on this little arrow here, and it's going to bring me all the outstanding invoices. And let's say I spoke to them about these two invoices here. So I'm going to mark those and select those. Okay. And then the status, whether it's open, completed, and so and so. I'm going to come down here, and I spoke to let's say John Doe, and said he will send check today. I'm going to save that. And that shows up now on top. Okay, the most recent note will show up on top. I can always go back to it again. Okay, I can see what invoices I spoke to them about. And that takes care, and that's how you enter notes. So that's probably the most commonly used feature of collections management is this collection main and viewing and entering notes. Any questions on that? I'm going to show you a couple of other things on the screen, but just to... Okay. I'm going to skip this query thing for now, but I'm going to go to contact. Contact is just where I can actually print for this particular customer. If I wanted to, I can print the collection letter. So if I wanted to... And collections management comes with a number of default collection letters. You can actually create your own, and we'll talk about that in a little while as well. But I can bring up any collection letter here. If I wanted to, I can also print any statements. Do you guys happen to print monthly statements within GP or no?
Yes.
Okay, so you can actually print the statement. You can say which statement you want to print. And if you want to print any specific documents for this particular customer, you can do that. So I'm just going to print the letter. I'll just show you what it looks like on the screen. Oh, that shouldn't happen. Hold on 1 second. Okay. I apologize. That didn't work, but the letters again are pretty standard in terms of what the different. There's, like I said, there's about 6 default letters. But in reference to what's owed, there's also some letters just as a reminder, and those you can print out. I don't know why I'm not getting that to print out here. In terms of a couple of other things that you could do within the collection main is there's the task option. So this task screen here is another screen that is very common with the collection management, and basically what this task is for. It's by user, right? So for this, what it's showing me here is for collector ID SA. These are all different tasks that have been assigned to me. So what I can do is when I first come into GP, I can actually open up the screen and it'll actually show me all the tasks assigned to me. Now, that's all dependent on the collection notes, and if the note has been assigned to me, those will show up on this list. Okay, and like I said, and in here I can do a range in terms of date. So I can say, look, I want to see all the actions that have been assigned to me from this date to this date. I can see if I want to see just the ones that are open, or I can also view the ones that are completed. So, for example, if I go back to open here, and let's say I completed this first one, and I can click on that first one and go back to it, and it shows me exactly what the note is. And let's say that, okay, this is completed. I can mark this completed. Then I just go back and say, if I want to go, just show me the open ones. If it's completed, I can do that. Okay, so this is again a very important note from a collector standpoint, because it shows all the tasks that they've been assigned to, and you can print this out if you want to see that. Hopefully this will come in. So you can print the ones that are open versus the ones that are completed. So you have a list of all things that basically you have to follow up with. A couple of other things you can do within the collection main. One of the ones, again, that's pretty common is also the emailing. Let's say that I want to email this specific customer. Now, you can also do mass emailing. In this case, I'm just going to do emailing just for this customer. So I can click on email here. Now, one thing I just want to show before we, the email address will default from the customer maintenance. So here on the customer, there is a little globe. This globe has an address. So let me put, for example, let me put my address in there. And you can put multiple email addresses, CCs. You can also put multiples, just separated by a semicolon. I'm going to close that, save that. I'm actually going to close this, open it up again, bring them up. So now I'm going to click on email. And notice the email just came up automatically. I'm going to click on add, because that's what I want to send it to. I can, if I want to pick a letter, I can do that. If I just want to, just send them an email, I don't want to put a letter in there. I can say, I can do that. So I can say, please call me. You get a chance, and I can, in the message, I can say, see reference documents. And if I wanted to, I can actually attach these documents on the email. I'm just going to send the email as is. So I'm going to click send. It tells me the message has been sent. In a couple of seconds, I should get a pop-up on my email telling me that and there it goes. So that's again one of the more common things. Extras is where I can just get information regarding this particular customer, or a little bit more information if I wanted to. And then you can also print the screen out. So again, this is probably, people who use collections probably are on this screen at the majority of the time. Any questions on that? Okay, a couple of other things in regards to how collections. One is in regards to the letters. Excuse me, I just had to move here. So in collections, there's something called bill queries. Well, you can actually, if I go back to the collection main, I don't know if you noticed this, but there's a little radio button there that says view, and it has all has query. Okay, if I say all and I do a lookup here, it's going to show me all my customers, so I can pick any customer that I want. But what I can do is, I don't have to show every single customer on the lookup. If I wanted to, I can go to build query, and in here there's a number of different queries that I can build. I can build it based on customer information. I can build it on a customer. I could build it on balance. I could build it on notes, periods. I can build it on action type, like I mentioned before, and I can build it on levels. So what happens is that I create this query, I run it, and then when I go back to the collection main, it's only, and I click on query, it's only going to show me, I didn't run the query, but it's only going to show me the customers that match that query. So for example, let's say I show that the query was any customers that owes me over $50,000. So I run the query, I come in here, I do a lookup, and it's only going to show me all the customers that are over $50,000. So it isolates the customer list to match whatever the query was. And then once you do that, then what you can do is on the query letters, you can actually print the collection letters just for those customers that match that query. And that's kind of how, how the letters work. Now, a couple of other things I want to show you is that you can actually create your own collection letters. So there's actually a place here where you can actually see the existing letters. So these are the ones that are currently in GP. So I can bring one up. So you notice that it's kind of, I don't know if you guys have ever used like Word mail merge, but it kind of works like that. It says hi, and then it puts the contact name from the customer, and it just shows the message that you want. And these you can customize however you want. You can create your own as well. And then really the last other thing that I wanted to show you is the collection plan. So this is actually a new feature that was not available, I think only in 2013 when ProFat took it back. But what you can do is you can create collection plans. And each collection plan can have different steps. It can have up to 10 steps. So for example, if you look in here, let me just put this up for a second. These are different plans that have been created. For example, one based on aging, one if they're overdue 30 days, any high risk, you can have a high risk plan, let's say good customer plan. So let's say that we look at a standard collection plan. So this particular collection plan has 9 steps, and it's all based on days overdue. So in here, this is actually 7 days before it's due. It's assigning an action plan called soon due, which basically means that it's going to assign, it's going to automatically create a note on any customer where the invoices are 7 days due within the action date. Then you have, for example, if it's 5 days overdue, then we're going to create add a note to each customer that's 5 days overdue called reminder. Okay? So you see that all these actions are the ones that we were talking about before, that you can create whatever actions you want. Okay, so this is all set up, so all based on days overdue. As you can see, you get a little bit more severe, and then the final actions is once it's over 90 days due. There is a grace period that you can indicate as well. So once you do that, then you will go to collection plan processing. You select what kind of customer you want to see. Let's say all with a balance. You got to do all the ones with a balance, and then you can see the collection plans is assigned to each customer. Okay, so if I go to and I can actually drill from here into the collection info, and I can assign the collection plan that I want to that particular customer. So sometimes clients will just have one collection plan, and that will be the same collection plan that they use for all customers. Now what you can also do, and you see from here the documents that are matched, that are overdue for that customer. Now you can also do just the ones that are overdue. So these are the ones that have an invoice overdue. Okay. I can highlight the specific customers. It shows me what's overdue. Done here. And then when I want to process, let's say I want to process it for this particular customer, I can do it for all of them. I click on process either this customer or all customers. And what that's going to do is that's going to create a note on the customer, and then I can do my queries based on those notes. So for the most part, that is collection management. It's pretty straightforward. The screens that I show you are the most commonly used. There are reports. There's a couple of reports, not that many in collections. Mainly it's aging reports that you can run to have that include the notes. Let me just show you what this looks like. Basically, it's just an aging. Let's see. All right, obviously I'm having a problem with my reporting on the collection side, but basically it looks like an aging report, and the only difference is it will have the notes attached to the customers, so from the whatever notes have you entered in collections. So that's basically it. I mean, it's a pretty straightforward module. Doesn't take long to get up to speed. The main thing is really once it's installed, doing the initial setup, doing some training, and then you're going your way.
Okay.
Any questions, comments?
Ed, the only one question I had was, we use multi-entity management within Great Plains. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. But
Yep.
would this be an issue with this third-party software?
Nope, actually, now that you mentioned that, I actually have another environment that has exactly that. It has MEM, so this environment that you're looking at now, it's exactly that. It has MEM,
Okay.
and it has collections, and I'm glad you brought that up because it does work a little bit. It's the same concept, but obviously the entities involved. So let me show you what that looks like from a MEM standpoint. So if I open up the collection main, what you're going to notice is it's the same screen, right? But what you notice on the bottom is you have the entity screen, right? So in essence, what I can do is I can bring up any customer. And then, as a default, notice that I'm in company 26 on top, right? So that's the company that's going to be automatically marked. Now I can pick whatever companies I want. Let's say I want to see all the notes for all companies. I can click on Mark All, and it shows me all the notes across all companies.
Okay.
But it will default to whatever company I'm selecting. And then when you create a note, and I'm glad you brought this up too, because this is interesting. This is something that we actually work with Binary on to enhance. So when you create a note, since I have all the companies created, this will be a note for all companies. But I can uncheck the ones that I want. So if I decide, look, I don't want it for all companies, maybe I just want it for company one, I can do that.
Okay.
So that is embedded into MEM. Yep.
All right, great.
Same thing for the query. Not a lot of people use it, but the build query tool is also embedded by company. It's the same concept, but yeah, that works fine. Like I said, I know we work with MEM on a couple of clients to make some enhancements to that, but yep, that works fine. It's good.
Great.
Any other questions? Now, one other thing I just want to point out, I will have to see this particular environment that I'm showing you here. I think I'm not sure. It does the filtering of the notes. It does the filtering of the notes by the entity, but I'm not sure if it shows it on the field. You see how we have facility here to show you? I think this is the customization that we did for this particular environment. So on a standard off-the-shelf environment, I don't think you would see the facility idea here, but you still can filter it, so you only see the notes for that facility. I just don't think you see it on the scrolling window.
Yeah. What's going on with
If that makes sense. Any other questions with collection? Okay. Hopefully that looks like that meets the requirements, and then what we'll do, Dave, is like I said, I'll give Steve the estimate from a consulting standpoint, which won't be that many. I'm assuming that everybody's going to be trained at the same time.
Yep.
So that won't take long. So yeah, once I'll send them the estimate. He'll send that over to you guys, and if you guys decide to go ahead with it, then it's just a matter of getting that all scheduled out.
Okay, great. And if we decide to move forward with it, it's something you guys could turn around pretty quickly, get it installed, and get us trained.
Yeah, I think based on, at least I'm not the one that does the installation, so that would be someone else. So I can't speak for his schedule. But for my schedule, I'm pretty open in the next couple of weeks. So,
Okay.
if you needed it done in the next couple of weeks, I don't think that would be a problem.
Okay, great. Well, I'll just look for the
Okay.
email from you, Ed, or from Steve, as far as the consulting time, and then we'll send it over to the Pronexus folks and see if they want to move forward.
Sounds good.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.